book about whole hog barbecue. There's no recipes in my book. It's not even a guidebook, really. It's a narrative, which means I can read some. So I like to read, and so people ask why whole hog barbecue. There are a lot of barbecue books on the market. Several came out last week when mine did. They're recipe books and they're guidebooks. Why whole hog barbecue? I hope to answer that question in 3 very short readings I'm going to do today. One that speaks to the person who introduced me to whole hog. One that speaks to the hog itself. The second part is really the most detailed the writing in the book. For a food book, there's not a lot of food, I have to admit. And the third is kind of a more abstract read at what I think whole hog is and why it matters, maybe why I fell in love with it, why I think it's deserves maybe more. If barbecue can be ranked, this is why I think whole hog is the apex. All right, so this is from the introduction, and it's called The Dying Breed. Some people count sheep to lull themselves to sleep, but Ricky Parker counted hogs to remind himself of his own existence. Whole hogs, prodigious beasts, 180 to 200 pounds apiece, fed and fattened to his specifications, slaughtered at the local abattoir, head and offal removed and ready for roasting and smoking in his cinder block pits. This is what Ricky called barbecue. Whole hog barbecue, the only barbecue that he and all of Lexington, Tennessee ever knew. The one true barbecue, a hog, slow simmered over hickory coals and ash, its flesh and fat and skin primed for the cleaver and chopping block after 20 plus hours, bathed in smoke and massaged by fire. He served 5, 10, as many as 24 hogs a day, every day but Sunday, sometimes running out of fresh meat for chopped barbecue sandwiches well before noon. Ricky couldn't say for sure how many hogs he'd prepped since 1976, when he began tending the pits at Scott's Barbecue, the year Mr. Early Scott took the 13-year-old boy on as an apprentice and eventually a son. It was immediately clear to Early Scott that no one could smoke hogs like young Ricky. He was a pitmaster, body and soul, born to the rough trade. He would master pit, fire, and hog, shovel, sauce, and spice. He would master barbecue. The young Ricky could remain on his feet for 20 hours straight, cleaning the pits, stoking the fire, shoveling coals, smoking hogs, serving customers, and the customers liked Ricky. He was courteous, handsome, a bit wild. He was dedicated to finishing the job and doing it well. Ricky would eat standing up. I eat on the run, he liked to say. And rarely, if ever, did he sleep for more than 3 hours a night. Sleep didn't come easy when you were cooking with live flame. He'd close his eyes and experience terror-filled dreams of his pit catching fire, his hogs rendered inedible, the Henderson County Fire Department arriving too late to save his smokehouse, which now lay a heap of charred timbers and sheet metal. Ricky would rather stay awake to watch the fire. His eating and sleeping patterns, or lack thereof, remained constant through the summer of 2008 when I first watched Ricky Parker smoke pig. At first sight of him, slender and gangly, his skin bronzed from working in close quarters to fire, I questioned how he could possibly find time, even enough time to dress himself, energy enough to shave that perfectly sculpted Van Dyke beard he always wore. 3 hours of sleep, and he'd work like this. How could he be standing? I asked myself. How can he be alive? But Ricky assured me that this was all a part of the whole hog pitmaster's life. He repeated a boast that he recited to just about everyone who came to interview him. I got to buy 4 or 5 pairs of shoes a year. I do a lot of walking, a lot of pacing, he'd say. He told me that he was married to his work more than he was to his wives, past and present. He spoke in self-mythologizing tones. He was special in his words. He was an original. He was a dying breed. And for all he knew, he was the last of the great pitmasters, a man who strove to smoke as many hogs as humanly possible. Ricky counted sleep in hours, counted shoes in pairs, but above all else, Ricky counted his life in hogs. Annually, beginning with my first visit, that 2008, I'd make a pilgrimage to eat Ricky Parker's barbecue. And each year, as I ate my chopped pork sandwich, he'd tell me about a future date circled on his mental calendar, July 4th, 2013, the holiday weekend over which he aspired to cook 100 whole hogs. 100. Hardly an arbitrary number crudely culled from a beer-fueled backroom bull session, but the height of human achievement, the age of modern Methuselahs. 100, a symbol of perfection, 100 pigs, one pitmaster's dream, 3 digits worth of whole hogs, a century of swine. Ricky Parker knew with some certainty that no pitmaster living or dead had ever reached that number, and through a complex formula of weather data, gasoline prices, hog futures, and unemployment rates, Ricky calculated that 2013 would be his year. He could stop counting hogs after this achievement. He could slow down, ease into retirement, pass the pitmaster's shovel off to his son Zach. He might even learn to sleep. But until then, he would keep on cooking, because no one could smoke hogs like Ricky. No one worked to make barbecue like this anymore. Few cared like Ricky Parker, the world's greatest pitmaster, the man who counted hogs to keep both himself and barbecue alive. So that's Ricky Parker. When I met him, he was a bit wild, as I described, and I was immediately fascinated with the man and began to romanticize the guy and his work habits, which were not healthy. I also fell in love with the food that Ricky cooked, and so this is a short passage about his food.